What is that? Is that a murder hornet? Whatever it is, it doesn't see me, so I'm gonna really hope for the best. Hi everyone! Today is officially over a week since I've graduated. I'm gonna be talking about 15 things I wish I knew as a freshman. And just kind of like stuff, like advice in general that also kind of applies to if you're starting online, just because I also had a little bit of experience with online school. First things first is if you are a rising freshman in high school or you're like transferring high schools, is just don't be scared. When I started high school, I was not in a good spot, like in my head. And I was so nervous because I'm not good with change I can't control because I'm a Taurus. So I actually missed my first day of high school because I was so nervous. It's terrifying, especially if you're like me and you're not big on change and you don't know what to expect. It can be very hard to really like prepare yourself for certain things. And it got to the point where I missed my first day. But once I finally got to school, I was in classes with people who I knew from middle school. I had really good teachers who kind of like took away most of my worry. Some of those teachers were terrible, don't get me wrong, but, well, not terrible, just a shock to me. Overall, it's not something you need to be that scared of. The next thing I highly recommend from the get-go is you get to know your teachers, whether it's you meet them in person or you're emailing them because you get the teacher assignments, because you're doing stuff online still. Getting to know your teachers and building relationships with them can seriously improve how you do in that class. And I'm not saying it's like a favoritism thing, but like if you are behind on an assignment, but you've taken the time to get to know the teacher and show that you truly care, they're more likely to give you an extension, or they're more likely to accept your work late, you know? Also, the teachers are also people, and to take the time to sit and get to know these people, you learn a lot, not just about them, but about life in general, because they also went through it and they see how freshmen are and they understand like how difficult it can be for you guys. But they've had the experience in like seeing how freshmen grow and adapt into high school. So it's a great way to kind of get an inside scoop. And they can also open you up to a lot of different opportunities with regards to like clubs or places you can volunteer. Teachers are teaching in that field in high school because they have a serious passion for it. They know what they're talking about. They know how to really give you like just like a little bit more than just what they teach you in class if you take the time to talk to them. Next thing, third thing, is that freshman year matters. A lot of the time, we don't really take freshman year seriously because it's a transition period. Sometimes if we get thrown into like honors or AP classes freshman year, it can be very hard to transition into it. But you really do need to take the time to really focus on your grades because it will affect your GPA if you're not doing well. I am speaking from experience. It took me way too long to really start taking school seriously, and that hurt my GPA so much. I could have done a lot better than I actually did. I could have gotten into a lot better placements of classes and just done more with my high school experience. So don't knock freshman year. It is going to be hard and your grades are not going to be perfect. That's not what matters. Freshman year in general, the work you put into it matters. So you really just want to take it seriously and do the best you can right from the get-go. Next piece of advice is that you do need to start getting involved early for clubs and volunteering and stuff like that. I'm going to talk a little bit about volunteering later, but specifically for clubs. So I did student government in middle school. I did student council, and I knew I wanted to continue that, but the only way you could do student government freshman year for my school was to interview as an executive member for the freshman class council. So I did that. And just doing that and being able to get a head start on like being involved and planning these school events and stuff like that, it kind of introduced me to all the other things I can do. So now I continue doing student council for the next 4 years, for the next 3 years after that. People still continue through class council because for us, student and class council are separate. It opened me up to being able to like kind of grow and develop the skills to even start my own club, which is also something that you can look into depending on your school. I know for our school, there's a whole like application process, but getting involved as early as your freshman year, and even if you like the clubs, sticking to those clubs, it is a very important thing to pay attention to, especially if you're like in my school, we're very ambitious to say the least. So everyone really aims to get into the top schools and starts thinking about it the moment they hit high school, even if not before that. So getting involved early, finding what you like to do early, and just kind of figuring out where you want to commit your time in high school to as soon as possible is the best way. Even with like sports and stuff, like not a sport, but I did marching band freshman year, I played lacrosse starting freshman year, and I've continued those things like well into high school. So you kind of pick and choose and figure out where you want to commit your time, and that's freshman year is the best time to start that. Next thing, this is definitely one of the most important ones, is to start building good habits the moment you hit high school, if not before. If you guys are online for high school, I know my high school is not starting in person, so my brother is literally starting high school online. You guys might be used to it, but the workload is going to be very different, and it's not going to be the same as doing stuff in class. So you want to get used to emailing your teachers, you want to get used to asking questions, to getting your work done the moment it gets assigned, to being on time, if not like 5 minutes early for any Zoom meetings you're going to have, because these good habits are things that you're going to want to hold on to all throughout. Doesn't necessarily click at first. For me, again, it didn't. My transition into high school was rough, but if you are mindful of it and you do put in the conscious effort to make these good habits a part of your lifestyle, it will definitely help you in the long run. I wish I built the study habits and the time management skills so much sooner. So if you're seeing this and you are anything like me and you are kind of a hot mess, start working on that now. Next thing is, when you do get to school, if and when you do get to school, whether you're starting in September or August or whenever you guys start, or if you're gonna wait until like next year, like 2021, one of the biggest like life hacks for us is, if you have a smartphone, put a picture or a screenshot or something of your class schedule and the classrooms as your lock screen, because you're gonna get lost and you're gonna get confused. I did this in the beginning of every year just to figure out where my classes are, and it was hands down like the best thing ever, because then you don't have to like rummage through papers if you have to find a paper, or for us we use Genesis, so to have to go on and find the Genesis website to log in to find the right thing, it can be super confusing. So having that screenshot as your lock screen, you just look on your phone, you know where to go. If you get lost, usually teachers will happily tell you where to go. Some upperclassmen, if you are doing clubs or like fall sports or something, who recognize you, will be more than happy to help you. Next thing is, get to know your resources that you have at your school. Obviously what you have depends on your school. My high school is really big, so we have a lot of different places to go, but like a lot of the questions that we have about school events and stuff, we could go to the activities office where the activities advisor is and student council is, and they have a lot of information about like prom and like freshman events and stuff. Also, any mental health resources that you have in your school, like your guidance counselors. If you have a mental health club in your school, get to know your guidance counselors as well, because they are definitely your biggest resource. Getting to know them from freshman year on will help you so much your senior year. Just like knowing where to go for certain questions, for certain information, get to know where to go and who to email if you're not going anywhere physically, and who to contact, all that stuff. Next, this is a big one that I really wish I knew and paid attention to, is you should pay attention to any prereqs for future classes you want to take. And by prereqs, I mean like prerequisites like grades, I don't know, volunteer hours, test scores, teacher recommendations, anything like that. So if you're interested in taking honors or AP classes, you do need to have a certain grade requirement or class requirement minimum in order to take certain classes. If you want to take AP biology, in my school for example, you don't just need the minimum like science requirement like physics or chemistry, you also need a minimum English requirement. So you need to pay attention to all of those things. So say your grade in science is strong and you're very good at chemistry or whatever class you were taking previously, but your English grade is not quite where it needed to be, you're not going to be able to take that class regardless. Sometimes your counselor will give you a little bit of leeway with that, but if you are not staying on top of that and knowing what the prerequisites are for the potential classes you'll want to take in the future, then it's going to be very hard for you to kind of pick that up. And pay attention from the very beginning of the year and kind of see when classes are offered too. So if you're a sophomore, if you could take a class, if you can only take a class as a junior or a senior, that's also something that you want to keep in mind when you're kind of planning out the classes you want to take, which isn't a bad idea. Especially because freshman year, your classes are generally handed to you. You don't really pick too much besides maybe like your language or certain levels. But if you want to start planning out where you want to be in the sense of like building classes and stuff for your resume, for your transcript, definitely pay attention to that. Next thing is don't worry about saying no. This one is definitely one that I found to be very difficult in like social situations or in academic situations where like I would, like, speaking from an academic place, I used to put too much on myself when it came to like the classes I took or the commitments I made. Like, I would just offer and accept doing literally everything, and it took up all of my time, and my time management skills not quite where they needed to be. So it did end up getting very overwhelming and very difficult for me to do because I would just take too many tasks onto myself. Like, I shouldn't have taken, for example, honors English freshman year because I didn't know what to expect and I didn't have those study skills ready, so I did not do well. I should have just accepted that I wouldn't be able to do it or dropped it when I still had the opportunity to drop it. So, or if you're like going out with friends and they're doing something that you're not comfortable with, don't be afraid to say no, because if they're still pushing you after that, those are not the friends that you need to be with. And that's a whole separate conversation about like finding friends and stuff like that. But like, don't be afraid to assert yourself if you're in a situation that's uncomfortable for you, whether that's socially, academically, volunteering for things, commitments. Don't be afraid to not be the one to do it, you know? Next thing is volunteering. So if you guys have National Honor Society in your school, subject honor societies, if you pay attention to the prerequisites starting freshman year, also should have mentioned that when I'm talking about prereqs for future classes, you do need to pay attention to volunteer hours and where you need to volunteer and how many you need from each different place. Also keeping track of those volunteer hours, because a lot of times you'll either get like a certificate on paper, sometimes you need to reach out and ask for proof of hours, sometimes you get like an email. So for me, what I more or less did was I kept all my hours in a designated folder. You know, I personally didn't use a lot of folders throughout high school, but this was like the one I used. So if you get any paper hours, you put it there. If you get an email with proof of hours, you screenshot that, you print it, and then you put that in there, because hard copies of stuff are a lot easier to keep track of, in my opinion. If you needed to reach out, ask for the hours, like through email. They'll send it to you via email, or they'll mail you your hours in the folder. Keep everything important, any documents, especially volunteer hours, in that one folder, because that way when the time comes for you to apply to NHS or a subject honor societies, everything is right there and you have solid proof of all the work you did. Next thing, number 11, is you do need to find the time for yourself. I'm talking about all the different stuff I did, and while it was a lot, one of the biggest things that I wish I had paid attention to sooner was taking the time to relax and taking the time for like self-care things and like exercising. Like, I did not really like take the time to like work out and like be healthy and focus on my eating habits and my sleeping habits. Your sleep is going to get very messed up, especially if you're not anticipating the workload that you're going to be receiving relative to like middle school. So finding time for yourself is crucial to be the best you can possibly be throughout high school. Next thing, number 12, is your mental health matters. I am a huge advocate for mental health and for taking care of yourself and for recognizing when you need to get help if something's off, and that is normal. We need to normalize having doubts and concerns and stress and anxiety, even if it gets a little out of hand in high school, because it's such a common thing among everyone, but it's just in our age group, we're more open about it, relatively, but we still need to be more open about it, and we need to be normalizing getting help in healthy ways and coping with these problems in a healthy manner. So again, guidance counselors, depending on your school, obviously everything is relative, also are not a bad option. In my school, we have school psychologists who are more than happy to help you. We have our head of guidance, and we have our like student personnel services, who are great resources. The club I started is a mental health awareness organization, so that's more of an educational place, but we also talk about a lot of stuff there as well. So if you are struggling and if you are not feeling like you're at your best self, prioritize yourself at that point. Get help, talk to an adult. Teachers are awesome as well. If you have a teacher who you've made a good connection with, who you trust, even getting like even like going to see a professional outside of school. I know I've been starting to see one, and it has improved me immensely. Even just talking about your problems changes completely. And you're going through a lot of change with a different setting, especially with uncertainty with being in school and out of school and not getting to see everyone all the time, because things are still going to be very limited throughout your early high school experience. It's a very uncertain time, and talking about it is very crucial and is detrimental to your success in high school. Is valuable to your success in high school, I should say. Next thing is popularity, and being associated with certain people and being in certain groups does not matter at all. This is something I literally struggled with all 4 years of high school, is feeling left out and feeling like I'm not with like the more like desirable group, whatever. It's so stupid thinking about it now, because in the past couple months I've like really realized that it's not necessary to be in certain friend groups. But especially freshman year, I did not realize this at all. I always strived to be with the more like popular or like more fun and spontaneous friend groups, not realizing that like that's not me. If you find yourself kind of looking to be with a certain group of people, make the effort to be friends with them. No one's saying don't do that, but don't let that consume you. You should be focusing on finding people who value you and want to spend time with you and want to be in your group. You can make your own group. Friends are going to come and go no matter what. It doesn't matter, because you are going to find your people. You're going to have the people who you connect with the most, to the point where like I have a friend who I connected with so much, literally we went and got matching tattoos yesterday, because those are the people that matter the most. Like, is that a seaplane? Anyways, or even if it's like friends from middle school, those people are going to come and go. I'm not friends with half of the people who I was friends with in middle school or elementary school or anything like that. And if you are, that's fantastic. I'm proud of you for it, but that's not always going to be the case, because friends are going to come and go, people are going to come and go, and that's normal. Next thing. This is a great time for you to start building your narrative. So freshman year is a lot of change, a lot of figuring yourself out, and you're not going to really discover who you are so soon. I'm still trying to figure out who I am, but this is a great time to start recognizing your strengths and weaknesses, and maybe working on those weaknesses or working on those strengths to make them even stronger and make them shine more. Because when you start hitting junior and senior year, you're gonna have to start, even if you're like applying for jobs or you start doing college applications, you're gonna need to know how to describe yourself in order to sell yourself, basically. So like with a job, like when I got my job, I had to interview and I had to explain like I am good with working with people, I'm good at keeping track of multiple things at once, like I'm good at maintaining like good character in like adversity, something like that. I said something along those lines. In college, you're gonna need, like, to start applying for college, you're gonna need to start with writing your Common App essay or any supplemental essays you're going to need to write for any specific schools. So you are going to need to know how to describe yourself. And this is also a great way for you to start identifying yourself. Whether it's you find yourself identifying like racially or ethnically or religiously, like when it comes to like identifying yourself, or if it comes to identifying yourself as a musician, an athlete, a student leader, something along those lines. Like you can, like freshman year is a good time for you to start kind of paying attention to those little nuances that you tend to miss when you're not paying attention to them, and start building who you are and how you're going to make yourself you, I guess is the best way to put it. It's very deep when you think about it, like really trying to like put yourself together and you together, because you're not there yet. No one's there yet. Like no one that's young knows who they are yet, but this is a good time to start. This is the perfect time to start. The last thing, and the most important thing, and the cheesiest thing, is to have fun and cherish everything that you have in high school and all the memories you're gonna make. Coming from a senior who lost the second half of her senior year and the most fun part of her senior year to Miss Rona, I can definitely say that like you as a freshman need to take every moment and savor it. The good, the bad, the ugly, the fun, the stupid, the cringy, like everything. Because before you know it, 4 years are gonna fly by and you're gonna be sitting where I am right now, maybe not talking to a camera in her backyard, but reflecting on the fact that like everything passed so quickly and you're no longer a grade school student, and you are now stepping into this new chapter of your life where you are getting so much closer to true independence, or maybe you're fully independent, and you're starting to take the steps towards your professional life and to build into adulthood, and it goes by so quickly. So make sure that you make your high school experience one that you want to look back on and be proud of and be happy of. And certain variables are going to be out of your control. Like friends are going to be out of your control for the most part. Like relationships and people that come and go are going to be more or less out of your control. But your overall high school experience is what you make of it. So you get to do what you want to do in high school to make it your own. And you just really need to focus on doing well, being successful, and being the best you can possibly be and growing as a person. But you need to have fun doing it, whether that's really taking the time to like hang out with your friends and going out. High school is going to go a lot faster than you think. And it's crazy, man. It is crazy. But yeah, if you are watching this, I wish you the best of luck in high school, whether you are starting online or in person. Let me know if you are starting online or in person. I'm actually very curious because I only know about how my high school is starting just because my brother is also going to be a rising freshman, or is a rising freshman. If you are already planning on doing any sports or anything like that, any clubs, let me know. And if you are from my high school and you are seeing this, best of luck to you. Guys are going to kick butt. If you are a senior at my high school, like right now, cherish it. I know you're starting online, but honestly, like it's crazy. Senior year goes by so fast, and you also have to make the most of it. Any rising freshmen, you're gonna kick butt. Again, because this is not a spirit week, there are links in my bio to any resources that you may want to take a look at, to educate yourself, to donate, to watch videos, to like gain AdSense, to donate for. Any petitions you can sign will be in the link in my bio. Please check those out. And yeah, just good luck, live your best lives, and happy high school, I guess.